Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered Joy, the series where we're completely unfiltered. We talk about whatever's on our hearts. And today I have the incredible Megan Holly with me. Say hey, Megan.
Hey, hey.
Good to have you here today. So I kind of scrapped the whole like, who are you? What do you do? All that kind of stuff. We'll put things in the show notes. But the question I love for people to answer to open things up is a fun little fill in the blank if you're game.
I'm always down. Let's do
Oh,
it.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay, so fill in the blank. My soul came here to.
Okay. My soul, your soul happy. So I truly believe like my soul came to kind of push boundaries in a way, but in a healthy way of like finding that limitlessness that we all technically have, but we don't really believe that we have it until we have it. So it's kind of like a catch-22 because it's really hard to get there. But I do believe that at least, especially recently, I've realized that it's just kind of my jam, as you would say, like my jam to kind of help people see that like you are boundless in so many ways, So yeah, that would be what I would say.
That is so awesome. And I love this so much because I've been using the phrase, you'll hear me say at the end of this podcast or at the end of this show series, is live a limitless life. Like live a
Look at that.
limitless life, right? And I think you're spot on. I've realized this over the years, but I didn't know it. It was like, why is this such a hidden secret that I truly am limitless? Why is this a secret? And it's not. It's just that we don't actually take the time to stop, pause, and focus on the fact that there is so much going on in our lives, especially, I swear, the older that I get, it's like, where did all this life stuff come from? It's like the adulting feels like more. Life feels like it goes faster. All the things start to feel more crowded unless we do something about it to unclutter, create space. I was just watching your stories today and you were talking all about creating space.
Yes.
And that spaciousness reminds us that we can create this limitlessness. Do you want to talk a little bit about creating space?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't even know where to start almost, but at the same time, I do because it's one of those things where hands down, we all have that feeling of crunch, right? I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do that. There's not enough hours in the day. I have banned that from my vocabulary because I was a huge person who said that all the time in my previous life, right? I would always say there's not enough hours in the day. I just can't get all this done. And I couldn't because that's what I truly believed, that there was not enough hours in the day. And so in the last few years, I have just been kind of peeling away the layers of figuring out like why there's people that you look at and you're going, wow, they're doing so many things. Like, how are they doing all of this? And they're feeling like, not to say that they don't have stress and they don't have this and that, but they get a lot of things accomplished and also have time for themselves. And so I'm like, okay, what is the secret sauce here? And what it was that stepping back and giving yourself that freedom of having space. And you have to start small. Like, I'm actually, this morning when I was journaling, I wrote like find space on my journal. And it was like, where am I finding it? Because it's not just going to come like, hey, Megan, I'm over here. Let's take some space. Like you have to find it yourself. And so I have found with that when I do give myself, I don't care, even if it's 5 minutes in the morning of just truly sitting there with my eyes closed or journaling or listening to my favorite song, whatever it is, that 5 minutes makes me like 35 to 45 to however long more productive in the day, because I gave myself a couple of things, the power and the will to know that I'm worthy of having more space, that I'm bigger and more beautiful than any like dotted line accomplishment, I did this could ever be.
Mm.
And third, that you free up a little bit of your mind, right? Like you're not like sitting there bogged down. Because I'm somebody who could just, we talked about this like before, like you just can spew out all the ideas and all the things, but then all of a sudden you're going, how am I ever going to do all of it? Well, first of all, you don't have to do all the things that come out of your mind.
No,
And that's a whole other ball game. But second of all, you can do more of it, the stuff that's in line with what you should be doing when you give yourself space. And
mm,
this last few weeks, I've really been being mindful about taking the time to shut off a little bit earlier, to take a little bit of time in the middle of the day to like randomly go and just like do a random stretch, or like, whatever, even walk to go get the mail, like just something that
yeah,
I would like wait till like the last second of the day to do it, because I was like, that's going to mess up my balance. And
yes.
it feels so, even the little bit of time that I've been being more mindful of it feels better, 100%.
Mm. I love that you said find space, like really seeking out spaciousness. I couldn't agree more that it is our responsibility to be the seekers. One of the
Yeah.
things that I teach is how to reclaim your joy, right? And a huge part of that is choosing to seek it out. It
Mm,
may not always be right. In fact, a lot of the times we choose to believe that it's not right in front of us or that it's not right within us. And so
yeah.
creating the space to seek, to really just seeking out the space is so important. It's very empowering once you go, hold on, I have all the time in the world and so little to do. What if that was the mantra? I have all the time in the world and so little to do, because what that does is creates this perspective and this shift in your body of, even if it doesn't feel true right now, we can be in the process of believing I have all the time in the world and so little to do. It relieves the pressure valve. Like we all have these valves in our body that we sometimes just need to literally reach in right here and sometimes I have to do physical reminders for myself and just go like let the steam out, let it out, like let it out. We do this a lot of times in breath work, but it's being able to relieve that pressure valve and change the story of, and like you said, banning the belief, like ban the belief that there's not enough time and that you have too
Right.
much to do,
Yeah.
right?
And it's not even to say like, because I think people, when you say, oh well, let's change that thought process, they're like, well, no, you don't understand how much I have to get done. And
Sure.
I'm going, oh, I do, I totally get it. I haven't changed the load of things that I have on my plate, or what I
Mm.
want to do or have aspirations to do. It's just that when you really start to see that change, it's just like going to the gym, right? It's like you
Yeah.
don't like envision yourself in like, oh, my muscles are tighter and a little bit stronger and I can, whatever. And then like the first day you do it, it's like that. It's the same idea. Like you have to be proactive and going like, I'm going to find that time to do this. And all of these things are going to get checked off more. Now you might have to find other ways to implement, maybe some time management skills and things like that to help find it a little bit more. But so it's not just like magical, like, oh, I journaled for 5 minutes this morning, I'll have all the time in the world now. But it's also that mindset of like, okay, but I'm giving myself this so that I feel the freedom. I unleash that valve. My valve is right here. I hold it all right here,
Same.
specifically on this side of my core, not even center, this side. Um, so like you do that, so you kind of empower yourself. And then second, finding those things that help you to maximize the time that you are doing things. And then that way, like you marry it. It's kind of like vision boards, right? Like you need the
Yes.
vision board, but you also need the action steps. You can't just have one without the other. You have to have both. And then you'll finally start seeing yourself and having the freedom of going like, goodness, I like felt a little less bogged down today. I got a little bit more done today than I feel like I would have otherwise. And you'll start gaining that momentum.
I I love this so much. I often call this rebrand your busy. Rebrand your busy, because I truly
Ooh,
believe that we're all busy. I really do. I haven't met a
yeah,
person who's not busy. Maybe I have, but their busy is just different. because we're not actually too busy. We have chosen to overdo it in our energy. Like we've chosen to say, we've chosen to overcommit our energy. That's really what busy is. I've and if you can say it out loud to yourself, I've chosen to overcommit my energy. Ooh, it makes you go like, whoa, I've chosen, if even if you can just say I've chosen to be busy,
Mm-hmm.
it's a reminder to yourself that it doesn't have to feel the way that it's feeling. So I have tried to recruit so many of my clients and friends and family to rebrand their busy to say, my life is so full.
Ah,
My
I love
life
that.
is so full because it's a choice to be busy, and it's a choice to be busy because you're choosing to overcommit your energy. You're choosing to give it to things that maybe don't light and lift you up, right? And that's when busy comes into play because we've attached busy to overwhelmed. We've attached busy to almost wanting people to recognize our contributions in the world. When someone says
Mm,
they're busy, stop and think about maybe where they need some recognition. They might need recognition. They might need validation. They might need to be reminded that their life is so full and they have the opportunity to reprioritize the things in their life, right? Because think about this, Megan. Think about this. Have you ever been in a situation where something that you're looking forward to is coming up?
mm.
Vacation, maybe it's a date night with a girlfriend or your partner, maybe it's getting a new puppy. I don't know what it is, starting a new job, something that for me, it's always vacation or travel, right? So, like vacation, travel, holidays. Let's use that as an example. My to do list never gets shorter, it's always completely full. It's always completely full. But on the days where I know that it's a half day, or as soon as I'm done with my to do list, I get to go do the thing that I've been looking forward to. I cut my productivity time nearly in half. It's amazing. It's amazing. Has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yes. Isn't there like a law, like not the law of attraction, but something similar that like the amount of time you allot for a task is how much time you will take for it. So if you're just kind of lollygagging around, like sometimes I'll do this like when I'm working on a project, right? I'll be like, okay, there's no real definitive deadline for this. I've got like a little wiggle room and I'm not as like gung ho, like, oh, it's got to get done today. Oh, for sure. That thing will just keep riding out and riding out, and I'll do a little here and a little there, and it will take so much longer. And in the back of my mind, I have to remind myself, like, it's not that that task took that many hours. I just expanded what I was doing within that
Yes.
versus, hey, this is like, got to get done and it's got to get done by this time, it's got to be done by this day, whether it's a fun fulfillment that you have that's coming up or just a hard deadline that you have for something. Either way, you will expand or contract to get that done. So when you start saying
Totally.
there's not enough hours in the day, it's almost the same idea, but you're just kind of
Yes.
like you're reversing it, right? You're just like
Yes.
not giving it the right amount of space and time and balance to make it work. So yeah, that so happens to me. And I think the more that I become realistic about it and giving myself a realistic timeline of like, let's be kind to ourselves and not just be like, I gotta get this done to get this done. But
Yes.
also like realizing that like if you want to get more done in your day, how are you utilizing that time? Are you letting that like you said, if you have a half day because you've got something exciting going on and you're about to take flight to vacation, you got it all done then. So why can't we get it done more productively in another time frame? The other thing that I heard recently was somebody said like people interchange the words productive and busy. Like, are you just being busy or are
Mm-hmm.
you actually being productive? Because those are two different things. Because I feel like the feeling of being busy is a kind of a mask, if you will,
Yes.
for some deeper rooted stuff going on.
That's significance. I'll just call it out for you. It's actually like a significance wound where, again, it
Mm,
goes back to that. Like, if you see somebody who's like busy, 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 They are trying to get recognition for something because they want to feel significant. If I communicate to you how busy I am, how many things I've chosen to take on, which we forget that part, how many things I'm
Yeah.
taking on instead of chosen to take on, very important, then I'm significant. And significance is one of our top 6 core needs. If we're not meeting that need for significance, we're going to find fillers to fake it till we make it, right? So I love that
Yeah.
on productivity. It's a major difference of moving the
Right.
needle forward versus dropping in a filler.
Well, and like you said, kind of going back to, people who that maybe are always busy. And I've been there. I still work to really balance that out myself. But when you're kind of like just filling your list, and you're kind of going, why is this sometimes like so overwhelming, or many times so overwhelming? What am I trying to prove? What does that person need? Do they need a
Mhm.
hug? Do they need a conversation with somebody? Do they need a little bit of guidance in some way because they're just feeling like, hello, I'm over here and nobody's helping me, but they're also not asking for it either. So it's kind of like the catch 22 again. So what does that person might need? What do you need? If it's you are the person, which we've all been that person, what are you maybe needing to do to get that more that need met,
As
instead of just filling your plate, because it's never going to go away until you really get to the significance wound there. Like you said, you have to kind of go, why am I needing this? Why am I craving so much validation outwardly? Like, why do I need this? What is missing? And then once you evaluate that and work on kind of finding the space and time in your day, the magic can happen then, because you're going to feel a lot more fulfilled in so many ways.
I love the example that you used about actually taking time to find time or create more time. Your example of I give myself whatever amount, like 30 minutes or 60 minutes or whatever it is, or maybe it's 5 minutes to every morning just journal out, or even in the middle of the day, taking that break is so important and it creates more time. And here's why I believe why. You can share your 2 cents on it too, because, and the reason also why we can get more done on that vacation is today, the sooner I'm done, the quicker, it is an energetics thing. So if I take the time to get my body in a space of really centeredness, really this wholehearted space of my selfness, it's really my selfness, like authenticity, my selfness, feeling like that is when I can feel like I'm right here, then I can get things done much more quickly. That's been my experience. And if I'm feeling cluttered and cloudy and chaotic and stressed and overwhelmed, overwhelm is a direct link to just being paralyzed. Like it is an automatic stop button, right? And stress and anxiety lead to overwhelm. So we literally like go into a freeze if we're working on something or want to get something done, even if it's, putting your kids' lunches together. It's going to take you twice, 3 times, 4 times as long to do that, even simple tasks, if you're not just taking a few minutes to get yourself back to base camp, back to base level. That energetics for me is just everything. And I've really learned to train myself to go like, whoa, you're off. It's time to do something for you. Otherwise, it's going to take you 5 times as long. What's been your experience?
Totally. Very similar. I mean, even this morning, when I took my time this morning, I came in with the intention of doing my little cards that kind of prompt me to think a little deeper and just get my mind slowly waking up, and then journal, and then usually like a stretch type of a thing. Well, today I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I've got my mala beads, and I was like, I'm going to go down each one, and I'm going to think of all the people in my family, and I'm going to send them some sort of something, like so-and-so needs patience, like so-and-so needs a little bit of like hug, like somebody, this person needs to, whatever it is. But that lengthened my morning
Mhm.
time significantly. I have quite a few people in my family. So, and I'm somebody who's equal opportunity. I wanted to make sure I got everybody right. I felt I felt I felt it writhing up. The valve was getting pressurized, like, oh gosh, like, but this is taking away time to like starting on what you want to get done today.
Yeah,
And I
like my
felt it
day
rising
starts
up.
at X time.
Right. Right. And I just sat there and I was like, no, you know, and then it was like this balance of like, you know, the angel and the devil, right? The busy and the space. And it was like, and I made it through. But for anybody who's listening to this and they're going, I can't do that. I cannot, I don't have any will back. I can't, you might be able to do it, but I can't.
Yeah.
Remember that it is just something that comes with time, and it comes with really taking yourself back and going, no, this is really important right now. And you will thank yourself so much more in the long run. You will see the fruit of it. And so anyways, all that to say is that when I was doing it, I just felt this pull and tug and tug and tug. And then I had to just keep reminding myself, it's all going to be good. And I've gotten quite a bit done today. And it did not stint me accomplishing the things that are the check boxes off that did have to get done. And anything that needed to shift was able to shift. And I also think that if you give yourself a time frame that has a little wiggle room, like I always give myself with like more major tasks, like it can get done this time or this day, so that you
Uh,
know you have a little bit of wiggle room, so that you're not like, this is the only time this can be done, because then you're setting yourself up for failure. And that stacking of stress leads to overwhelm, because you're like, oh, it's in the back of your mind going, you didn't get it done on Monday. You didn't get it done on Monday. What is wrong with you? What are you doing? And that self-talk just spirals, instead of you going, you know what, you did not get it done on your first time frame you allotted for it, but now you're going to make sure that you work on it the next time. And you have that like agreeability for yourself, you know, kind of a thing. And so that's kind of where I'm at, is just really listening and like letting it flow and finding what works for myself, so that I have been there with that hard stop button. It's like, it's being hit for me. Like I'm not even hitting it. It's just
yeah.
like the anvil is just like from a cartoon is just falling on it.
Oh yeah.
And now I have no choice but to
Yep.
stop.
Yep.
And that's not a good feeling for anybody.
I I feel like it's important, something that you just said, another way to say it is it's important to practice our priorities and practice our
Mm,
promises to ourselves. And like if your promises are to use your energy in a loving way, then we have, in order to honor that promise, we have to practice the things that get us to that loving energy and that loving space, even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's inconvenient. That's so important, because life is going to throw you a
totally.
lot of things that are very, very inconvenient. But if we can go back to what our priorities are, I have like 4 major goals slash priorities this year, and they're kind of interchangeable. But one of them is to make more memorable moments, not just memories, like memorable moments. And so I feel like life keeps teasing me and tossing out inconvenient times for me to create more memorable moments. And in those split seconds, when I have my to-do list, I actually refer to it as my get to-do list. I renamed to-do lists get to-do lists, because again, I really believe that everything boils down to choice. So rebrand your busy and use your get to-do list, or your looking forward to list is something that I put for my clients, is like my get to-dos and my looking forward to's. And if you can, and sometimes they are a little bit different, but sometimes what's on my get to-do list, the universe goes like, hey, you said I'm gonna test your promises and your priorities today. So someone showed up at my door the other day and said like, hey, it's now, and you can either literally shut the door in their face or go do the damn thing and know that your to-do list, get to-do list isn't getting any shorter. And I had to choose. But when I know that my priorities are such, then I can always go, hold on, that's the universe dropping in saying like, it's time to honor it. Even when it's inconvenient, it's time to honor it. One of it is to feel fabulously 40. And so in order to do that, it doesn't always feel convenient for me to drink the water, move my body, Take the stretch breaks, especially the stretch breaks. They're so good for your body, and the breath breaks. They're so good for your being and your body and your brain and all the things. And they take like 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes. You can choose the amount of time that you stretch or breathe, but we just don't do the things because we think it's going to interrupt our productivity. When in reality, it's
Yes,
creating the space needed to honor ourselves and keep our promises.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the shift that takes any human being on this planet from surviving to thriving.
Yes.
And we hear people say that about plants, right? I'm clearly, if you can see behind me, there's plants, but like people will say that, like, you can have a plant that's, it looks green, it's standing up, it's looking healthy, but it hasn't grown, it hasn't popped a new leaf, it hasn't expanded in months or years or whatever. And sure, you could have a plant that stays the status quo for years, and there's nothing wrong with it innately, right? But what if you put it in a bigger pot, in a better place for sunlight, in a better watering routine, and all of a sudden it's got all these baby ones coming out, and it's getting bigger and taller, and you're like, well, wait a second. The same thing for humans. Like, so many people are just surviving. They're going through the motions and doing the things. And it's okay. There's nothing innately wrong with that. But when you come down to, like you said, universe throwing you curveballs and saying, let's try this differently, or let's do this in a different time frame, or let's, kind of unearth to find the space for you to feel like you can do things that feel good, but also do things that you want to aspire to do. Like, they all can coexist. Then you start to move into that thriving stage when you are going to not even, realize how much more fluid you are in life, how much more better you feel because you're able to take the 5 minutes to drink the water, or take the walk, or call a friend, and still feel productive in what you're moving towards in life too. So it's like, I feel like all of that kind of comes full circle to find your way to feeling less pressure, but feel more empowered, like just literally more empowered. And if there's nothing else on this planet that I want for people, is for them to know that they are at the core of it. They are the people that can empower themselves to do what they need, to find that balance of space, and find the aspirations and the goals and all the things. But at the end of the day, we are reduced down to those memorable moments, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, one time we were standing this is a little morbid, but we were standing at a memorial service for somebody in our family. And my brother goes, it's kind of wild. And I was like, what? And he's like, that, like, you're kind of like, your whole life you live, and like, right. And like, you have all these things and these moments and these people and the things you've done. But at the end of the day, when you're standing there at somebody's final resting place, and all you've got are flashes or pictures of these moments that went by, the question is this for me: was it a memory or a memorable moment? Like you said, like, did you just take the picture to take the freaking picture?
Yes.
Or did you actually live in that moment? Right. And this can go for
Yes.
anything in life, right? This can go for moments with friends and family. This can go for things that you've done in your life or your career, like all the things where you actually, like, were you in it to win it, and like able to embrace it? And that's what I mean by win it. Not like get a gold trophy. I mean, like, win the moment. Or were you just doing it to check the dang box off? Because
Yeah.
then, like, I'd rather than it all go away if that's all you're doing it for, right?
Yes. That is huge, because I just wrote down on my notepad, because I've been saying memorable moments, but I also think it goes a layer deeper in creating moments that matter. Moments that matter to you, but also moments that matter to the people around you. And this is where, like, I heard a song on the radio the other day, and I love it so much. I can't remember who sings it. It's a country singer, maybe you'll remember, but it's all about, like, we're all in the same boat. It goes like, we're
Oh
all in the
yeah.
same boat, fishing in the same
Yep.
pond. And if
I
we
think
can just
it's
remember,
that.
like, Who is it?
I think it's Zach Brown. I think.
Is it? I bet it is. It sounded like him. But I love the words in there that it's like we can all agree to disagree because we're all just in this big freaking crater living in the same boat. And if we rock the boat too much, like if we just have two sides, which our world is going through sidedness right now, it's so strange. If we just have
Mhm.
two sides and you're rocking and we're still in the same freaking boat, but we're gonna capsize it. We're both going to contribute to capsizing it if we can't just go like, let's all just keep rowing. Let's
Right. Just
all
go ahead.
keep rowing and growing and going, like all the things. Like, so just coming full circle, it's like, can we just like stick with it together to create moments that matter? Let's create moments that matter. We have like history books and we see things on the news, and I wish the news would do a better job of they do a lot of really cool things on every news platform. I really truly believe that. But they do a really good job of shining a light on all the shit. But I think they need to do a better job of shining a light on the moments that matter. What if the news could only report on emergencies with things that we need? We need people need this, they need this, they need this, they need this, they need this. Like, here's the ways you can help. Like if we could just
Yeah.
help people and highlight moments that matter. I love the segments on the news or morning shows or evening shows where they just highlight incredible people who are creating moments that matter for themselves and other
Mhm.
people. And I like that's what I want to be remembered for. And that's why it's on my board. Maybe it will stick on my board forever of just like, how can I be a part of moments that matter?
Yeah. Well, and on that note too, even segueing it, tying it back to finding that balance of space for yourself and creating that. Are you the news that just continues putting all the shit into your brain and
Yeah.
reminding you that there's not enough hours in the day, that you're never going to amount to anything, that you have to be busy to get worth? Or are you going to be the Heidi B version of news, where you remember that you deserve to thrive, that you
Mm,
deserve to shut off your phone and take time to yourself, that you deserve time for just you, not the kids, not the partner, not the mom, not whoever's siphoning out all of your energy. Are
yeah.
you that newscast that's remembering and reminding yourself that this all really does create those memories and those moments and those livable, like what am I trying to say? Those moments that just like are what you live for. That like the time when
Yes.
you laugh so hard you freaking cry all over your
Yes.
pillowcase. This happened to me not too long ago. I had to change my pillowcase because I was laughing so damn hard. And it was like,
Yes.
if that was the last and only memory I ever had from my life, it would feel good because I felt so light. So what are you going to choose,
Yes.
right? Are you going to choose to keep just that newscast bad reel
Mm,
going in your mind and keeping yourself kind of stagnant? Like you said, that overwhelm button is just going to, and you're just going to like implicitly implode. Or are you going to let that, are you going to get the easy button from the commercials
yeah.
and go, you know what, we're gonna move it to like ease instead of easy, right?
Oh, I
The
love
ease
that.
button. And we're gonna push
Yeah.
that before it gets to an emergency state and remind ourselves that that's okay, that we can do that, that we're safe to do that. Because I don't think I think a lot of people in our generation have like, we're not well, those that are working on it, we do feel more grounded, but I feel like we've had a lot of people that have felt not grounded because past generations weren't as open in communication and there was a lot of holding things in and not talking about a lot of things. And so we're undoing a lot of that.
Mm,
But we still don't feel comfortable saying, like, I need a little bit of ease in my life. We want to just keep making it hard because that's kind of what we know. But we're really
yes.
working so hard to undo it. So if we can just keep inching our ways at that, doesn't mean life's easy. It doesn't mean the shit goes away. It means that we remember. And I think we're both very much about that. Neither of us will say everything's sunshine and rainbows and there's glitter falling out of our ears and our ass and all the things.
Exactly.
But we will say that even when this crap is spewing, there are silver linings to go like, you can do this. We can find the ease. We can find the path that helps get you back to feeling grounded and good at the end of the day. And there's people, we're all in it together. Like we all have a lot of crap, but we also all have a lot of good to give to this world. So much more than anybody ever gives themselves credit for.
Totally. Thank you for bringing the word ease in. I think that I've never heard that described. Instead of easy, just like give yourself some ease. Lean into ease because it doesn't always feel easy, but we can invite this lightness. We can invite the light, right?
Ooh,
And
I like
yeah, invite the light. I think that's super, super, super important. What are some ways that you invite the light into your life when it's feeling a little bit heavier and you want to make it like, how do you invite the light?
For me, and I know this isn't everybody's cup of tea, music and dance really just, and I'm not talking like classical ballet dance. I'm talking just like being as goofy as possible, looking like a 5-year-old that's like had too much popsicle and you put on like a Justin Timberlake song, like whatever, like just being silly. And I think it's a lost art of just kind of letting that be free, because let's be honest, we hold a lot of people hold tension in their chest and their lungs, and it feels like they can't breathe as good when they're stressed and overwhelmed. But what does singing do? It kind of
Oh,
opens up, right? And you don't have to have a good voice. I have an atrocious voice. I have the worst voice. I'm very raspy, but not like in a good like Adele way. It's
you have
just
the
not a
sexy
good.
voice, sexy raspy.
Yeah. Like, hey. But you know what? Grab a spatula, put on your favorite music, and just dance around. Like that's for me, like we talked about the energetics of it, right? Like when you move your body, and you know this so well,
Yeah.
when you move your body, when you move your breath, you start to feel different. And it might feel a little foreign for some people if they've just been kind of like holding in all of the things and they become kind of like concrete. It's a little harder because even for myself, when I'm in seasons of like, because I'm there sometimes, nope, I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna do all the things. I'm gonna sit in my chair. I'm gonna get it all done, and then I'm gonna go sit on the couch and do nothing and watch TV. Which,
Yes.
whatever, that's fine. I'm not knocking like your release being a favorite show on Netflix. But what I am saying is that if you do it for time and time and time and time again, all you're doing is holding in all of that stress and that energy. You're not releasing it. So for me, it's that music, it's that dancing. It is even sometimes I'll literally, it's freezing cold here in the Midwest, but I will literally open the door and just breathe in the cold air because it
Yes.
makes me, I didn't know this, but my brother said that my dad used to say a long, long time ago that the winter makes you feel alive. It reminds you that you're alive, because
Hmm.
no other time do you feel so many sensations at once, like, right, like you're just like
Hmm.
feeling like pain but also like cold, and then you're also feeling warm when you put the coat on, and there's so many things. And it reminds me that I'm alive, and it's important to me to remind myself of that sometimes, because how many times have we all been there, like, is this thing on, am I even, like, is anybody hearing me, am I really am I here, like,
Yes.
it sounds like, I'm went off my rocker, but it's kind of true. We get to those points of like that. So just like fresh air, and really for me, like laughter. So whatever I can do, is it stand-up comedy? Is it your best friend that says the silliest off the wall things, and like you could have the not even a real conversation, but you're like, that's what I needed
Yeah,
today. Um,
totally.
those are kind of my go-to things because they really do unleash a level for me. And of reminding myself that
Mm,
I'm safe, because they all, if you think about it, none of them really cost anything. You don't need a tool. You don't need a exercise band. You don't need gardening tools. Like, I do love gardening too, but you don't need anything to just bob your head to your favorite music, or don't even move. Just put your favorite music on. I don't even care. Like, if you're like, I don't dance,
yes.
but
And a lot of people don't feel comfortable moving their body in that way. Go shut the door, go in the bathroom, turn on something. Or it can be, if you're not the Justin Timberlake spatula kind of a person like I am and you are, like put on the
Mhm.
acoustic guitar, light the candle,
Yeah.
sway a little bit, move a little bit. roll your shoulders, just stretch, something like
Yeah.
that. But moving the body is so, so important because our emotions are literally energy in motion. And if we don't move, then our energy gets stuck and stagnant. And that's when we feel really funked up. That's literally what happens in our systems is
Totally.
we get like, we just get clogged up in our systems. I love what you said about winter too. You said like winter reminds us we're alive. Thank you for saying that. You're just full of nuggets today and always. But because again, that's reframing. That's reframing. And I think especially living in the Midwest,
Mm,
returning to the winter after spending many, many winters in California, it's like my body is just like, why are we still here? Just like a down and out. Like it's a reminder every day, the snow, just like, death. Like, and winter is a season that a lot of like astrological folks will talk about like the importance of dying and things like falling off and like things coming off. And that's so important. And it's so important to remember that you're not dying because the snow is falling. you
right.
you are not dying. You are
Yes.
so alive, and you can be reminded by simple perspective shift of that. So thank you for just saying like winter can remind you you're so alive, and you're right. That opening of like, whoa, here I am, like you don't have to hibernate all of winter. It's okay to come out and still feel alive, still feel awake,
Yeah.
still keep going. I think that for me, definitely dance, breath, movement, sound is like such a good thing to remember always. Like if I can ingrain that in people's minds, breath, movement, sound, breath, movement, sound, breath, movement, sound. And so dancing and singing knocks off moving and sound. And then breathing usually is a part of that because you're depending on the song and the dance, like you're engaging
Right.
with the breath. So it's so cool. But one thing for me that we were talking about a little bit earlier is for me to really unleash that level or remind myself of like who I actually am, getting back to that groundedness. Like paddleboarding is a huge one for me. And I want to call this out because I think that people will relate to this, that because I have a unique job right now where I can get flexible with my schedule at times. It's not as flexible as people might think, but I can get flexible, and you can too. And
Mm,
everyone can actually. It's a matter of just prioritizing and making things happen. But when I'm near water and when I was living in California, when I felt like I was just clogged, when I couldn't seem to get creative or come up with the right words or the right way to add value or like really do my job, I would go for a board meeting, is what I would call it. And I'd get on my paddle board. And you brought up something important, which is what kind of talked about with the boat earlier, which it was like you literally have to paddle right, right, left to move yourself forward. You have to balance yourself on the board. But there was just like out on the water, there is this peace and this ease and this find yourself and this like my brain just slowly starts to unlock its creativity, its authenticity, and it just knows like this is where you're supposed to be to come up with your creations and to bring yourself back to remembering who you are. So there's not always water here in the I can't go to the lake right now and paddle, but there's so many other things that I can do. And so I just want to invite people to get creative. And at the end of every series, I try to invite people a call to action. So what I want to invite people to do is really find your light in, write down a bunch of things that you can do and then prioritize them. Like prioritize them. Remind yourself that you can create the space that you desire for yourself. Is there anything that you want to invite people to do, a little takeaway for this week?
yeah, absolutely. With all that being said, I'm on the same wavelength of finding that thing. But for the people who don't necessarily off the bat resonate with finding the light, find your fire first. Then
Woo!
put on, I don't know, some screamo music, some whatever it is that's like really like that makes you feel good, and punch a pillow 20 times and let it out, because you know what, people don't see it in me that I'm like like I can get raging, but I have my moments. And when
Yes.
I've had, usually I go to the light and just get it all, like dance it out. But when I have my moments, I will just Yell it out, yell. So if you're like, you know what, all this like
Yes.
lightness doesn't feel good for me right now, I call you to try the other side. Find your fire and
Mm,
use it for good. Use it for good, because you'll be able to just go like, oh, like, you know, whatever, whether it's like smacking your pillow against your bed, punching your pillow, whatever. I mean, it doesn't have to be that violent, but sometimes people like, I've been recognizing that some people need that
yeah,
side of
of
it more than
course.
I've ever like thought about. So if that feels better for you, then do it, right? Stomp your feet, whatever. And then once you start unleashing your energy in that way, you might be able to find your way back to the light side of things. So my call is to the people who don't like, they don't see it as plain as day or right in front of their face. Find those other ways, like surface out what really does feel good for you, to find your way to creating more space inside of your body, your mind, and most definitely your spirit as well.
Yes. Oh, so good. That is such beautiful invitation. Like, you are one of the most inviting people that I've ever met in my life. You're so encouraging. You are a light. You invite people to be where they're at, and you allow people to just like you allow people to find something deep within and let it bubble up and come out. So just so that people know, I met you through your gifts in photography. Like you're such an incredibly gifted photographer. But when I met you, I didn't know anything about you. It was just by happenstance. We were at the same place at the same time, and you got invited to come to this retreat I was at. And I just immediately gravitated towards your energy. I'd never done a photo shoot before. I was like so awkward, and I immediately felt the ease. I felt the flow. I felt like I could be myself around you. And so I've just continued to follow you and watch your social media. And what I've realized is like, you're way more than a photographer. You truly, truly are a women's empowerment being. You can call yourself whatever you want, but you just have this amazing plethora of gifts, and talents and services beyond the photography. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing right now that's really tugging on your soul, tugging on your heart, like how you're serving?
Well, thank you, Heidi. That you're gonna make me cry over here. I'm like, oh, I'm not like an on the spot crier, but that could do it. But thank you. It's same to you. I mean, your light has always shone, and I have been, just loving just seeing your path and your light and all the things that you bring to the table. I watch your stories almost every day. I would imagine if I miss one, it's because I just wasn't on social media, to be honest. And I just love it. So I appreciate, your kind words, and it's just amazing what it takes sometimes to bring people together. And our story is a proof of that. Like, how we're just all over the world and able to just still be at the same place at the same time still. But yeah, for me, like you said, the photography has been a vessel for me to hype and empower people. But it has grown into more than just that. It's become, my platform has become creating a community where people can be themselves. They can talk about how they want to be silly and crazy. They can talk about how they want to be fiery and whatever. They can just show up however they need to. I think my biggest superpower that I'm honing in on right now is loving on people who are in the entrepreneurial small business space. And it can be really anywhere, but a lot of the people are creatives or are in helping spaces, a
Yeah.
lot of them. And with that being said, it's helping them to realize that their voice so matters, because they're like, well, so and so is already doing this type of coaching, or so and so is already doing, creating this. And it's like, let's stop, because everybody's doing all the things. We all are, we all
Yes.
are doing something that somebody else is doing, unless you've literally invented something brand new, which is very uncommon at this point in society. There's somebody else doing what you're doing in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. But guess what? Heidi B does it in her way, and Megan Holly does it in her way, and so does it in their way. And that is what I'm so passionate about, whether you're in front of my camera or you're just working on mindset and visual goals for what your, vision is, not to be too
Yes.
redundant with that word, but whatever it is to help people, to guide them and to know that they have got this, and giving them tools to see that in a more clear picture. like, if that's the last and only thing that I do with my energy, like, then I have done what feels good to me, because so many more people need that. They need to rise up into their goodness and into their talents. So yeah.
That is such important work. I'm so excited that you are following that path because you have such a powerful voice, as proven here on this series. Where can people find you to connect with you, get your messages, get your services more
Yeah.
frequently?
So I am on Instagram. That's probably where I spend most of my time. I really love that, that space for my community. And my handle is Megan Holly Creates. And I'm right there. You'll just see all of it. I share all the things. I love pouring into everybody pretty much. And it's just a space where I want people to feel safe and comfortable and heard, because at the end of the day, that's what's important. And so yeah, I'm always here for anybody. I say this all the time on my stories and whatever, but I'm always like, I hope people believe me. Like, if they just are like, I just need to say something, I need to like get this off my chest, or I have a question about like why I feel so stuck or whatever, like, I truly mean it. Like, I'm there to answer back and say, I feel you. I'm in the same boat with this, and this is what's working for me, or whatever. So I'm truly always there for people to, we're all in it together. Like you said, we're all in the
Yeah.
boat. We're all in the same boat.
And I can
So yeah.
wholeheartedly vouch for that. You have just the biggest heart, and you really do. Like, people matter to you. People matter to you whether you know them or don't know them, or you're just getting to know them. And you do respond. You will respond. So with that, you guys, if you want Megan and I to come back on and jam another time, because I bet she and I could go like every single week, it would be amazing. Please drop some comments. Let us know what you loved. Let us know what worked. Go on her Instagram, go on my Instagram, say more Megan, or talk about these things, or these things really helped. That helps us know how to best serve, connect, and engage with you to make sure that we're all truly just coming together to support one another and live limitless lives. Really, that's the name of the game. So thank you so much for being here today. I love you so much and appreciate you always. Everybody make
Love
sure
you right
you,
back.
I love you so much. Make sure you guys go out into the world, shine your light bright, and live a limitless life. See you next time.